right.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. So today we wanted to have a little conversation with you about this part of the book, Make It Stick. And this part on page 183 we found really interesting because it talks a lot about how you need to practice something over and over and over again so that it can become something you're an expert in. I think you read an article about that in 7th grade.
I did, 7th grade. Deliberate practice.
So
what it takes to be great.
So it talks about learning to play the piano or playing chess. So when I was young, I took piano lessons and I practiced every day for 45 minutes.
When I was young and I took piano lessons, my mom wanted me to practice that much and I didn't. And so when I'd go to my classes and my teacher was frustrated with me because I didn't do what I was supposed to do in between classes, and then I decided every time I go, I'm telling you, Miss Liv, every time I went, I'm like, I'm going to do better next week. I'm going to practice every day. And then it had to took really a lot of my parents being angry with me for me to make it a priority. And then I was glad that I did it. When I finally could make it sound like an actual song, I felt kind of proud about myself.
So something that's kind of important here in this last paragraph, it says, deliberate practice usually isn't enjoyable.
Yeah. That's why I didn't like to practice piano.
Right. So when you're learning something, whether you're trying to master your craft in the area of math, whether you're trying to become a better writer, whether you're trying to become a better reader, it takes time. Doesn't just happen on accident.
Right. And you have to probably do some things that you don't really want to do in order to be good at that. And since sometimes we get to decide what we want to be good at with deliberate practice, like skateboarding, for instance, for you, Mrs. Levitt, or for me, my Mario time is really important for me to be good at. But there's still some things that I have to be good at, even though it's not something that I would necessarily choose. So maybe science is hard for you. And maybe that's not something that you would necessarily want to spend time on, but we have to be deliberate in our practice of thinking like a scientist in order to be successful at being a scientist.
Also in the book Make It Stick, in this passage, it talks about Michelangelo and how he worked for years to paint the Sistine Chapel. This is a picture of the Sistine Chapel. Michelangelo painted on the ceiling, on the walls, and even designed the tiles. This took a really long time for him to create, and although he was talented, it took a lot of work. And it took years and years. And people would come up and say, oh, it's so beautiful. You're so artistic. That must be so easy for you. And he said, no, it was super hard, and it was not easy to do. And if you knew how long it took me to do this, you might not look at me the same way.
Right.
And I really like this part here that says, the effort and persistence of deliberate practice remodels the brain. Basically, it helps your brain to think differently when you practice.
What I think about that is sometimes when I would learn math, if I didn't do the practice opportunities or the homework is what we called it in high school, then when I went to go take the test and I could try and struggle through it, but I noticed that if I just did the practice opportunities or the homework, it would come faster to me. Like it may still be a little bit of work for me on the test, but it would make it faster for me to be able to do well on the test.
So the whole reason we're talking about this passage from Make It Stick and practicing and taking the time to learn is that we're going to be talking about goal setting. And so you might want to think about a goal that you want to work on, something that you need to have some deliberate practice around. Like I might want to do something about skateboarding. I fell, I hit my face, but I'm not going to give up.
I'm glad.
I'm not going to let this struggle of ugliness rule my life. I'm going to keep practicing because I want to be like Mr. Vandergriff and I want to skate around the school.
And I'm thinking about we've talked sometimes about kids with citizenship making goals about citizenship.
Could be.
And maybe you have a hard time not talking without putting your hand up first. So maybe one of the deliberate practices is I'm going to think to myself when I want to say something, hand up first. Or some sort of practice for me to work on citizenship, or in my classes, if I've decided I am going to be in that 4.0 nation, these are the steps I'm going to take to get to that. That's where that deliberate practice comes in.
Some of your teachers have been making social goals. So maybe yours is going to be a social goal when you make your SMART goal of, I'm going to learn how to talk with other people. And I might disagree with them, but I'm going to listen to what they say and be polite about it.
And be respectful, and I'm going to respectfully disagree sometimes.
Right. It's okay to disagree. So sometimes that's a learned habit.
Yeah.
So today we first wanted to share this article with you. You have it at your tables. You can kind of skim through it, but what I like about it is like letting you know it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to learn new things. When I was young, I did not want to practice the piano 45 minutes a day. But because I did, now I can play the piano. And now I have that talent. But it didn't happen on accident. And just like it said, it wasn't enjoyable. Sometimes if you hear Tiger Woods talk when he was learning how to play golf, he practiced the same stroke over and over. He said it really wasn't that fun. but then that helped him become a winner.
Well, and then he redeveloped his whole game. Even after he was great at it, he redeveloped his whole game because he wanted to be even better. And that's what it takes with deliberate practice in order to reach our goals and be the kind of success stories that we want to be.
And I saw Tiger Woods talking on the ESPN last night with my husband, and he said he hasn't been playing for quite a long time because he realized that he had needed to sharpen up his skills. And so guess what he said he was doing? He was practicing the same skill over and over and over again. So just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you can just stop practicing. Nope. You have to do it forever.
Yep.
All right. So in just a minute, you're going to watch another video which talks about one of my favorite singers.
Me too.
Very excited, Beyonce. Mm-hmm. And she's going to talk about her 10 rules for success. So let's get ready to watch that in just a few minutes. So after this video, you're going to write down a few things that either you see in this passage or you heard me and Ms. Brown talk about. And then we're going to get ready for the next video.